live from New Delhi. You're watching DDJ Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Vipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Trump imposes travel ban on nationals from 12 countries, including Afghanistan. White House claims a move to protect Americans from dangerous foreign actors. Amid an escalating row with the academic institutions, Trump signs a proclamation to restrict foreign student visas at Harvard University. U.S. threatens Columbia University's accreditation, citing anti-Semitism concerns. U.S. President Trump calls Russian President Putin, hints of no immediate peace between Russia and Ukraine, says Putin plans retaliation for Ukraine's stunning drone attack. The all-party delegations are returning home after concluding highly productive visits to key partner countries, successfully showcase India's continued fight against terrorism. And in sports, Novak Djokovic downs Alexander Zverev to set up French Open semi-final against top seed Jannik Sinner. And on to the details now. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed a proclamation banning travel to the U.S. from nationals of 12 countries, citing national security risks, according to the White House. The ban targets nationals of Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan and Yemen. The entry of people from 7 other countries, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan and Venezuela, will be partially restricted. The proclamation is effective on June 9, 2025 at 0401 GMT. The proclamation is the second time Trump has ordered a ban on travel from certain countries. He signed a similar order in 2017 during his first administration. Trump said the list could be revised and new countries could be added. Trump said the countries subject to the most severe restrictions were determined to harbor a large-scale presence of terrorists, fail to cooperate on visa security and have an inability to verify travelers' identities.
The recent terror attack in Boulder, Colorado, has underscored the extreme dangers posed to our country by the entry of foreign nationals who are not properly vetted, as well as those who come here as temporary visitors and overstay their visas. We don't want them. Very simply, we cannot have open migration from any country where we cannot safely and reliably vet and screen those who seek to enter the United States. But we will not allow people to enter our country who wish to do us harm, and nothing will stop us from keeping America safe.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a ban on visas for new foreign students at Harvard University, citing concerns about the university's handling of certain issues. This move is part of his administration's broader crackdown on higher education institutions. Trump stated that restricting the entry of foreign nationals seeking to study at Harvard University or participate in its exchange visitor program is necessary. This isn't the first time Trump's administration has tried to implement such a ban. A similar order was blocked by a court in May, with Harvard filing a lawsuit claiming the order would cause serious and lasting harm. Similarly, the U.S. government has threatened to strip Columbia University of its accreditation due to alleged anti-Semitism on campus, which could result in the loss of federal funding and prestige. The Department of Education claims the Columbia University failed to protect Jewish students from harassment, violating Title VI protections, a national law that prohibits recipients of federal funding from discriminating on the basis of race, color, or national origin. Early in March, the Trump administration put $400 million of Columbia's funding under review, prompting the university to implement new policies to address anti-Semitism concerns. Though Columbia University says it's committed to combating anti-Semitism and has been working with the federal government to address these issues. Also, U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone on Wednesday about Ukraine's drone attack on Russian airfields over the weekend and the Iranian nuclear issue. After the call, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social and shared more details about the conversation. Trump noted that during the 75-minute phone call, Putin stated that Russia will respond to Ukraine's attack on several Russian airports. Trump said the two leaders talked about the Ukraine conflict and other global matters. Trump said Putin warned him that he would seek revenge for Ukraine's drone attack on Moscow's bomber fleet, adding that the Russian leader was not ready for any immediate peace. Trump stated that the two sides also discussed the Iranian nuclear issue and told Putin that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. This was the second phone call between Trump and Putin since May 19th. Though both Russia and Ukraine have resumed talks in recent weeks, a ceasefire still appears distant. And Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said on Wednesday that Iran will not abandon its uranium enrichment, rejecting a key U.S. demand aimed at resolving a decades-long nuclear dispute. The U.S. proposal for a new nuclear deal was presented to Iran on May 31st by Oman, which has mediated talks between Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. After 5 rounds of talks, several hard-to-bridge issues remain, including Iran's insistence on maintaining uranium enrichment on its soil and Tehran's refusal to ship abroad its entire existing stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Tehran says it wants to master nuclear technology for peaceful purposes and has long denied accusations by Western powers that it is seeking to develop nuclear weapons. And the United States vetoed a UN Security Council demand on Wednesday for an immediate, unconditional and permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza and unhindered aid access across the enclave. The text was put forward by 10 countries on the 15-member council. Other than the U.S., the remaining 14 council members voted in favor of the draft resolution. Israel has rejected calls for an unconditional or permanent ceasefire, saying Hamas cannot stay in Gaza. It has renewed its military offensive in Gaza, also seeking to free hostages held by Hamas since ending a 2-month ceasefire in March. Acting U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Dorothy Shea, told the Council before the vote that this resolution would undermine diplomatic efforts to reach a ceasefire that reflects the realities on the ground and embodies Hamas.
The United States has been clear. We would not support any measure that fails to condemn Hamas and does not call for Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza. In recent months, Hamas has rejected numerous ceasefire proposals, including one over the weekend, that would provide a pathway to end this conflict and release the remaining 58 hostages. We cannot allow the Security Council to reward Hamas's intransigence. After all, it was Hamas who started this brutal conflict on October 7th, 2023, when Hamas perpetrated the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. Hamas has sustained it ever since in a manner that threatens Israel's security and prolongs Palestinian anguish. It is Hamas that continues to threaten Israelis and puts Palestinian civilians in Gaza in harm's way every day, using them as human shields. They have brutally suppressed those brave enough to challenge its despotic rule. It is inexplicable that many members of this council still refuse to acknowledge that Hamas could end this conflict tomorrow by surrendering and laying down its arms. It is unconscionable that the UN still has not labeled and sanctioned Hamas as a terrorist organization.
Well, hundreds of Venezuelans deported from the United States to El Salvador under an 18th century wartime law must be given the chance to challenge their detentions, and the Trump administration must facilitate the legal challenges. U.S. District Judge James Bosberg stopped short of expressly ordering the Trump administration to bring the hundreds of Venezuelan migrants currently being held in a mega prison in El Salvador back to the United States. The judge gave the Trump administration 1 week to detail how it would facilitate the deportees' filing of legal challenges. In his ruling, Bosberg wrote that the individuals were deported without adequate notice or the right to contest their removals. The Venezuelans were deported in March after President Donald Trump invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act to swiftly deport alleged members of the Tren de Aragua gang without going through normal immigration procedures. And a judge in El Salvador ordered the provisional detention of prominent lawyer Ruth Lopez. Lopez was arrested by Salvadoran authorities last month over allegations of embezzlement during her time as a state official. The Attorney General's office linked Lopez to a case against the former president of El Salvador's electoral tribunal, Eugenio Chicas, who was detained in February over accusations of illicit enrichment. Cristosal has sharply criticized President Nayib Bukele's hardline security policies and warned of possible irregular use of public funds by his administration. And the White House strongly criticized the forecast that Donald Trump's sweeping policy bill could drastically increase the national deficit, while Elon Musk renewed his attacks on the president's agenda on Wednesday. The nonpartisan CBO projects Trump's main bill would increase the U.S. deficit by $2.4 trillion by 2034. Stephen Miller, Trump's deputy chief of staff, rejected the CBO's report as biased and said the projection does not reflect reality. Trump's key bill for a second term faces congressional opposition. It plans to extend 2017 tax cuts by increasing debt and reducing support for low-income Americans. Meanwhile, tech magnate Elon Musk reiterated his disapproval, having previously branded the bill a disgusting abomination. The bill passed the House but faces tough opposition in the Senate, where talks are intensifying. Trump wants a Senate vote by July 4th. And hundreds of elderly Argentinians gathered outside Congress on Wednesday to protest as lawmakers debated a bill aimed at increasing retirement benefits amid growing frustration over the economic hardships faced by the pensioners. Retirees have voiced opposition to President Javier Milei's austerity policies, which they say have severely reduced their purchasing power and limited their access to medications and healthcare services. The demonstrators, holding signs and banners, assembled behind security barriers set up around the Buenos Aires Legislative Building. Meanwhile, inside Congress, lawmakers debated boosting retirement benefits and declaring a disability services emergency to secure funding. The protest remained peaceful, with police maintaining a secure perimeter around the Congress. And Bolivia's armed forces have denied allegations of planning a coup against the government amid escalating nationwide unrest fueled by a fuel shortage crisis and rising inflation. The controversy comes as former President Evo Morales pushes for his candidacy in the August elections despite a constitutional ban. Notably, June 26th marks the anniversary of a failed coup attempt led by former military commander, which was thwarted and resulted in the arrest of the alleged perpetrators. In response to the fuel shortage, public transport drivers in La Paz have organized a march demanding a stable supply to resume operations. Meanwhile, Morales supporters in Cochabamba have blocked roads in protest against the ban on his candidacy. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India to host 4th India Central Asia Dialogue in New Delhi to boost regional cooperation and connectivity. India elected to UN Economic and Social Council for 2026-28 term, pledges continued commitment to global development. And World Environment Day 2025 observed globally with focus on ending plastic pollution and promoting a sustainable future.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse. Is the United States China's debt trap strategy? Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
save your country.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, India's global outreach on Operation Sindoor reached its final leg. While 5 out of 7 all-party delegations returned to India, the other 2 delegations are engaged in high-level discussions to strengthen India's fight against terrorism. In its last leg of its visit, the all-party delegation, led by Member of Indian Parliament Dr. Shashi Tharoor, met bipartisan co-chairs of India Caucus in the House of Representatives, Rokhanna and Rich McCormick, and vice co-chairs Andy Barr and Mark Versay in Washington, D.C. The delegation briefed the caucus members on the cross-border terrorism faced by India and India's strong and resolute stance in the fight against terror. The congressmen expressed unequivocal and bipartisan condemnation for the terror attack in Pahalgam. They expressed support for India's right to respond to terrorism in the spirit of zero tolerance against terrorism. The caucus members also hailed the strong strategic partnership between India and USA. Well, the all-party parliamentary delegation also held candid and fruitful exchange with the House Foreign Affairs Committee leadership. The delegation briefed the committee members on the success of Operation Sindoor in defining a new normal in India's fight against cross-border terrorism. The committee leadership condemned the Pahalgam attack unequivocally. The delegation was warmly received at the United States Capitol by a bipartisan group of senior U.S. senators, including leading members from the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senate Intelligence Committee, and the Senate India Caucus. The parliamentary delegation discussed the success of Operation Sindoor, laid out details of Pakistan-sponsored cross-border terrorism, and outlined India's firm resolve to appropriately deal with any such future incidents. Well, members of Indian parliamentary delegation also had a constructive meeting with the chairwoman of the House Republican Conference, Lisa McClain. The Indian delegation briefed the congressmen about India's stance on Pakistan-backed terrorism following the dastardly attack in Pahalgam. Both sides agreed on the need for both democracies and their parliamentarians to work together to further the interest of their people and their economies. Another all-party Indian parliamentary delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament Ravi Shankar Prasad visited the European Parliament in Brussels, where it engaged with members of the European Parliament, including from the Delegation for Relations with India, the Committee on Foreign Affairs, and the Committee on Security and Defence. The delegation briefed members of the European Parliament in detail about the cross-border terrorism directed against India, including the recent heinous attack in Pahalgam, as well as about Operation Sindoor and India's policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism. The discussions focused on enhancing India-EU strategic cooperation, particularly in the area of counter-terrorism. Discussions also focused on broader India-EU ties, high-level engagements, and the deepening parliamentary exchanges. MEPs condemned the brutal terrorist attack in Pahalgam and India's right to defend itself and bring to justice the perpetrators. And India to host the 4th meeting of the India-Central Asia Dialogue in New Delhi on June 6th. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar will host the foreign ministers of the Republic of Kazakhstan, the Kyrgyz Republic, the Republic of Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and the Republic of Uzbekistan. The ministers will discuss further strengthening of relations between India and Central Asian countries, with particular focus on trade, connectivity, technology, and development cooperation. They will also share perspectives on challenges to regional security and other regional and global issues of mutual interest. The foreign ministers will also participate in the India-Central Asia Business Council meeting being held on 5th June by MEA in collaboration with FICCI. The India-Central Asia Dialogue is a manifestation of mutual interest on the part of India and the Central Asian countries to forge even closer, wider and stronger partnership in a spirit of friendship, trust and mutual understanding. And India, elected to the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations for the period from 2026 to 28. The Council is at the heart of the UN's mechanism to advance the 3 dimensions of sustainable development: economic, social and environmental. The Economic and Social Council of the United Nations is considered a key organ that plays an important role in recommending policies related to economic and social issues. Applauding India's efforts at UN, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on X wrote, and I quote, India was elected to the Economic and Social Council for the term 2026-28. UN thanks member states for their overwhelming support and reposing their trust in us. Appreciate the efforts of India at United Nations. India remains committed to championing development issues and keep working to strengthen the ECOSOC, unquote. And now to some sports news. Let's move on to updates from the ongoing French Open Grand Slam. Three-time champion Novak Djokovic kept up his quest for a record-breaking 25th Grand Slam title. The 38-year-old battled past third seed Alexander Zverev 4-6, 6-3, 6-2, 6-4 to set up a French Open semi-final against top seed Jannik Sinner. Early on Wednesday, Sinner booked his spot in the last four with a straight sets win over Kazakh Alexander Bublik 6-1, 7-5, 6-0 and became the first Italian man to reach 6 Grand Slam semi-finals. And Cristiano Ronaldo scored the winner as Portugal fought back to beat Germany 2-1 on Wednesday and reached the UEFA Nations League final. Germany took the lead in the 48th minute as Florian Wirtz headed in the box following a pinpoint lobbed pass from Joshua Kimmich. However, Portugal turned the match around, first equalizing through substitute Francisco Conceição in the 63rd minute before Ronaldo tapped in 5 minutes later to send the visitors into the final. Spain and France will clash in the other semi-final on Thursday to decide who will face Portugal in the decider on Sunday. Meanwhile, the grand felicitation ceremony for the winners of IPL 2025 Royal Challengers Bengaluru turned tragic on Wednesday. Overcrowding at the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Karnataka led to a stampede, killing 11 people and injuring over 30 so far, with the toll continuing to rise. Over 200,000 fans gathered at the 35,000 capacity stadium. Chaos broke out even before the event began, with crowds surging at the entry gates. The Karnataka government has announced a compensation of Rs 10 lakh for each deceased family and free treatment for all injured, including in private hospitals. Karnataka government will also hold a thorough probe into the causes of the tragedy. And today we are observing World Environment Day with theme and focus on ending global plastic pollution. The day unites communities to promote environmental protection and encourages a sustainable future. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports for more. Take a look.
For decades, plastic pollution has spread across our planet, damaging ecosystems, threatening wildlife, and impacting human health. But this World Environment Day, there is hope. The theme for the World Environment Day 2025 is ending global plastic pollution.
World Environment Day is a special moment for all of us. The garment and textile industry is one of the largest in the world. It provides jobs to millions, especially in Asia and India. But it also creates a large environment footprint and textile waste, old cloth, fabric scrap and unused material, which can harm the environment if not managed properly. The good news is that change is already happening in different pockets, and more and more companies are now using eco-friendly fabric, designing clothes that last longer, and encouraging people to recycle and reuse.
Led by the United Nations Environment Programme, the world is coming together to beat the plastic pollution. Plastic pollution fuels the triple planetary crisis: climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution and waste. Each year, 11 million tons of plastic leak into our waters that cost up to $600 billion in damage. But there is a wind of change. Across India, industries are stepping up, rethinking businesses with sustainability at the core.
I would say right from the water generation, what we do, we generate water. In our resort in Delhi, it's called as Doordarshan. We generate the water which we serve to the guests from the moisture in the air through the solar panels. Right, so that means we avoid the plastic bottles. We obviously have the glass bottles, and we refill the glass bottles, which saves again a lot of chemical, a lot of detergents, a lot of other water also is saved from there onwards. We make sure the water is 100% recycled in our hotels and resorts, And we also make sure that most, I would say at least 95% of the paper is all eradicated from hotels and resorts.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's heartfelt Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, One Tree for Mother initiative went global. A sapling planted with love became the symbol of environmental consciousness and maternal tribute. This World Environment Day, let's act, not just observe. Refuse plastic, rethink choices and restore our planet. This World Environment Day, be part of the change. With camera person Vishwabandhu and Monty, this is Tapash Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.